Here's where we can really see some purpose clauses in action with some examples both in Latin and in English. So first, let's start with English. First sentence, I went to the store so that I may buy some milk. Now I've labeled this for you on your slide. I went to the store so that, that's that oot in action in the middle of our sentence. I may buy, so we still get the may or the might in there that we've been using for our subjunctive translation. That I may buy is our subjunctive verb. And then some milk would be a direct object, so it would be an accusative. So in total, we would have the first half of our sentence, I went to the store. That would be expressed with the indicative. So that introduces our purpose clause, I may buy, our subjunctive verb, and then some milk, our object of our purpose clause. Next sentence, she searched the bookstore in order to find the newest book. So here we have maybe a nicer translation of our sentence. We'll get to that in just a minute, but still the same thing. The first half of our sentence, she searched the bookstore, that's going to be functioning as an indicative. That's the main part of our sentence, the main verb there. In order to, that's oot again. Find, here, that's the subjunctive verb. So we change our translation a little bit. If we're doing this nicer English translation, then we don't use the may or the might in the newest book, another direct object there. So we have two sentences that we can kind of compare to see how this is going to be framed. Let's turn now to Latin. So our first example here is actually a negative purpose clause. Hoc facit ne capiator. So here we have our main sentence with our indicative verb, hoc facit. That is a complete sentence in of itself. He does this thing. We could say that. That's a complete sentence. But we continue on to our purpose clause starting with ne, which tells us it's a negative purpose clause. And our subjunctive verb, capiator, here, third, singular, present, passive, subjunctive of capio, capere. In total, he does this thing so that he may not be captured. That's the literal translation. Now we can move on to the kind of nicer English translation. He does this thing in order to not be captured. That flows a little bit nicer in English. Now, right now, you can do either of these options. I don't really care if you do the literal one or the nicer English one, but I do suggest that if this all seems difficult and foreign to you, start with the literal and graduate to the nicer English a little bit later, because the literal translation gives us more of that subjunctive in it, and it can help you kind of parse out what we're doing here. So that's a negative purpose clause. Let's turn over now to a positive purpose clause. Libros legimus ut multa discamus. So here, again, main sentence in the indicative, libros legimus, and then we start our I almost said indirect statement. Nope, we start our purpose clause with ut multa discamus. So once again, libros legimus, we read the books. Now, ut, so that we may learn many things. Or if you want the nicer, smoother English translation, we read the books in order to learn many things. So just a note here, the brackets appear around the purpose clause, so you can kind of see where that starts and stops. So typically in our sentence, it will, always in our sentence, it will start with ut or ne, and then typically it will finish with the subjunctive verb. So anything in the middle there would be then part of our purpose clause. So the brackets can be helpful, so go ahead and add those to your paper as well. Once you've done that and looked over the slide thoroughly, move on to the next slide. We will cover jussive subjunctive.